Hey guys, Baily Hancock here. I have one of my favorite people. I know I say that a lot, but I actually mean it. All right, I mean it every time. I have one of my favorite people to share her story on today because Ashley, who's our guest, Ashley Torres, she has a job that I think many, if not most women in this country think that they want, which is on the surface, a blogger, an influencer, an Instagram celeb in her own right. But I'm really excited to talk to Ashley today because I know personally all of the hard work that not only goes into it on a day-to-day basis, but that has gone into it for the last 7, almost 8 years that she's been at it. So not to jump too far into things right off the bat, but Ashley Torres, founder of Pursuit Digital and Everyday Pursuits. I want to just get right to it, Ash. How did you become this Instagram celeb? It was just
Oh,
overnight, right?
right. Yeah. Woke up and I
Boom.
just had 100,000 followers.
Whoops.
Great question. And thank you for that introduction. My career started in accounting, actually. I went to school to be an accountant.
I did not know that.
You didn't? Yeah.
No.
It just seemed like the correct thing to do because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I started studying business. And then at USC, you had to pick, you know, a major within the business school. So I decided on accounting. And I did that because I knew that if you got a summer internship before senior year, you would be guaranteed a job when you graduated.
What?
So yeah, it's assuming you went to the internship and didn't fail, right?
Got it.
So yeah, that's why I decided on accounting. I really like numbers too. Honestly, I always say that if I ever need a new job, I'm going to be an algebra teacher because I love algebra so much.
What?
Yes, I digress.
Who are you?
Anyway, I digress.
You think you know somebody, people, and you have no idea.
So yeah, I did that for 2 years. I got my CPA. I had just finished my last CPA exam and realized I hated accounting after I spent a year and a half studying my life away. And I was bored. I was really bored. I didn't know what to do next. So I started my blog on the side. And it was just a creative outlet. I was like, if I have to crunch numbers all day long, I need something where I can talk about fashion and shoes. And my original blog name was Pursuit of Shoes. So that was the side hustle for a very long time. I quit my job at Deloitte & Touche right before Christmas of 2010, I think. I don't know, the years fly by. But I quit my job because in corporate accounting, you have a busy season, which is January through April. And I was dreading going into the holidays because I knew on the other side of the holidays was going to be my 80-hour work weeks.
Ugh.
And I was like, I'm normally such a happy person and I love the holidays. I shouldn't feel like this. I shouldn't feel sad that Christmas is coming because I know that something bad is going to come on the other side of it.
So this was like the ultimate version of the Sunday Scaries, but for December.
Baily, it was Sunday Scaries on a next level. Next level. Yeah, so I decided to quit my job. I didn't have another job lined up. Sort of. So I went to the mall and got a seasonal job because I knew I needed something before I quit entirely. So I quit my job. I had a seasonal job at Michael Kors. Within the 2 weeks between when I quit my job and I was actually off, I got a call from Haute Look, which is now a Nordstrom company. A lot of people call it Hot Look. It's pronounced Haute Look. And I'd applied there for a really low level production position, super entry level. And the woman who was the head of HR said to me, I used to work at a Big Four accounting firm too. Obviously, I know you're a smart person. We cannot pay you nearly what you were making at Deloitte. And I said, you know what? I just want to get into fashion so bad. I don't care what I have to do. If I have to work 2 jobs, it's totally fine. And she was like, all right, let's do it. So I was already hired onto that job before I actually had my last day at Deloitte.
Wow.
Started that January 2nd. I did have to get a second job. I worked as a cocktail waitress on the weekends in Pasadena, which, let me tell you, it was tough. It was tough.
I've done the double job game too. I feel
I went from dreading the 80-hour work week to doing the 80-hour work week, but at least 40 of it was something that I was enjoying and getting my foot in the door in the fashion world. And, you know, it was tough because I was making more money on the 2 nights I was cocktail waitressing than I was the 5 days I was working at Hotla.
That's how you get stuck in a bar job, because it's easy, fast money. And it feels like, why would I go be a sucker at a day job when I could like sleep in and come to work a few nights a week and make the same amount of money?
Yeah. The one thing that sucks is the men, but anyway, we won't go there. Sleazy guys and cocktail bars.
We need a separate podcast for that.
Yeah, so I did that for about 3 months, and then my boss could tell. She was like, "You're bored. I can tell you're bored." And because
That's a good boss.
I got done with my work within 3 hours of getting there. And this was the days of Perez Hilton and people.com. And I would just refresh Perez on an hourly basis. I'm like, oh God, Britney Spears got divorced. This happened.
Oh man, you were like reading Perez during some prime years.
Oh, prime.
Wow.
Like prime years. Yeah. And I they ended up saying, hey, do you want this position with the buying team? And, you know, I think there's a big misconception that fashion buying is all about like knowing the trends and being really stylish. And, you know, yes, I think I kind of have that stylish aspect, but it's a lot about math, you know, gross margins and inventory and things like that. So it really connected my 2 favorite things, math and fashion. And I applied for that position. I had no previous experience except for my accounting side. And I wowed the head merchandiser and got that position. You know, and meanwhile, this whole time I was working on the blog on the side, but really the blog at that time was truly a hobby. I never saw it at that time as being a full-time job, a full-time career, anything. So I worked at Hotlook for 2.5 years, 3 years doing that. And still grew the blog. And someone from marketing came to me one day and goes, hey, you've been doing such a great job branding yourself. And I'm like, oh my God, people are actually looking at my blog. People
right. There's that moment of fear, like, wait, what have I been putting on there?
Right. And he said, how would you feel about taking over our social media? And mind you, this is pre-Instagram.
I was going to say, what year are we in now at this point?
I'm so bad at years, Baily.
Did we know each other yet? Gosh, I don't know. Maybe like 2011, 12?
This was 2012.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
So
2012.
Yeah, Instagram launched at like the very end of 2010, beginning of 2011. And it was like, it just wasn't a social media place yet.
Right. No, especially for businesses.
Not at all.
So maybe it was like middle 2011. So really my tasks were managing Facebook, managing Twitter, and getting us like started on Pinterest. So basically I said to this, you know, executive, I go, what? Like social media is a job? And he goes, well, it's starting to be. I think it's really important that we have someone that knows what they're doing and you're doing it for yourself, you know, personally with your blog. And I go, yes, if you can pay me the same thing I'm making as an associate buyer, I am down for it. And I go, yeah, sure, totally. So,
and were you still waiting tables or bartending at this point, or did you?
No, when I started the buying job, I quit doing that.
Nice.
Thank God. And yeah, so fast forward, I took this marketing social media job. Instagram was just launching. This was also right after Hotlook was purchased by Nordstrom. And we were doing a lot of onboarding with the Nordstrom team, and it worked out so much in my favor because, you know, I think a lot of you that are familiar with Nordstrom will know that their social is absolutely incredible. It's top notch. If there's anyone in retail e-commerce doing social media at like the top level, it's them. And I basically got to pony on their back and be in it with them. You know, like instead of being the small business who didn't have a contact at Facebook or didn't have a contact at Pinterest, I was flying to San Francisco with the Nordstrom team, meeting Facebook, meeting Pinterest, walking into the Twitter office, like within 2 months of taking this job. And so my learning curve was just like, and it was great. It was such a great experience for me. And this is when I started really paying more attention to my blog too, because this is when influencers started to be a thing. You know, Ami Song, Sincerely Jules were big, you know, growing just their like actual blog and photography content. And I was like, that's cool. Like, it would be really awesome to have my own business like that and produce content like that, which I was doing. I'm so glad actually that Pursuit of Shoes URL is gone, because you do not want to see how it looked back in the day. But yeah, this is when I realized, hey, there's an opportunity here for me to brand myself personally. So I started to put a lot more time into the blog. I hired a photographer instead of having my sister shoot or my boyfriend shoot. And, you know, I think that making that decision was a very pivotal choice in where, you know, the trajectory of
it was like an indicator that you were ready to go pro with it, that you weren't just doing this as a hobby, that you were taking it seriously. Were you making any revenue from Pursuit of Shoes at the time yet?
I was here and there. I mean, like a couple $100s, which at the time was like, whoa,
yeah, for a blog. It's crazy.
Couple $100, getting gifted product here and there. So that was great. But obviously it wasn't, you couldn't live on that.
Right.
And
but you were able to cover probably the cost of the photographer to elevate it to that next level.
Yes. Cover the cost of photography. But yeah, I was still working like crazy, because I would go to work, my 9 to 5, and then come home and do blog posts. And, you know, if anyone,
you were like living that social life 24/7.
Oh, 100%. And, you know, writing a blog is so much different than just having an Instagram account. And I think that's something that the OG bloggers are really proud of and / disappointed in. Some of like the Insta famous people who can happen to just like be super beautiful and take great pictures, but don't have any writing skills.
Well, and that's something I think that I've always seen that set you apart was you guys actually can knock out a blog post in what feels like 0 time, and they're all quality and they're very tactical and specific. Like, you do incredible articles and blog posts, and you can tell you've just been doing it for so long that this just comes second nature to you. And I'm sure it wasn't that way in the beginning.
Oh, 100%. And that is such a learning that only comes with time, right? You can't teach that. And I think about that all the time. I've at this point narrowed down like how long it takes me to do a blog post, just for pure cost per hour and how I'm getting compensated. And I know, like, I can knock out a blog post. It still takes an hour, even if it doesn't have that much any copy, but you have to add the SEO to the photos. You have to tag everything. There's so many things that go on behind it. And we're going on like another tangent now about how to be a blogger, but there's so many things that go on behind the scenes that no one sees. And they're like, oh, great, you did a blog post, no big deal. And it's like, it is a big deal. I spent so much time on this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just sitting down to actually write it, not thinking of the idea, getting the research done, actually, you know, whatever it is.
All of it. I know. Anyway, okay, let's go back to how I got to where I am today. So I'm working at Hotlook / Nordstrom, really learning all that I can, and, you know, being thirsty for knowledge and making connections through Nordstrom and all that stuff. And I realized, you know, Hotlook is an off-price e-commerce site. So brands are selling their discounted goods. Most brands, from the marketing perspective, don't really want to, you know, collab or do co-partnerships to sell their off-price goods. So we were doing kind of like half-ass marketing. I don't mean to say it like that, but there was just another like world out there of full price marketing that I had never even been in, you know? And so I felt like it's time for me to get experience in full price marketing, because that's really where most of the world lives. So I decided to take a job at Revolve Clothing, leading their social and digital. I was there for about 2 years. I learned so much, especially being around all the influencers. And this is when influencers are really starting to be everywhere. Like, if you as a brand weren't playing in the influencer space, you were behind. And then I'm trying to think like what the light bulb moment was. When
was there one though?
I
Because there
think,
isn't always that moment.
yeah, it was more my drive to work was taking a toll on me, and I just wasn't 100% loving the work that I was doing there. And I had a lot of inbound inquiries from really small brands that needed social media help. I'm like, man, there's all these small businesses that need social help. They can't hire someone full time. I know I can run an Instagram like the back of my hand, and I go, this is the time. This is the time. If I can just get one small client, social media client, then I can go out on my own. Because at this point, the blog was doing well. It was, pay wise, probably like an entry level job pay. So I was like, if I can just get one small brand, I can feel comfortable that I'm not going to, be eating beans and rice,
Mm-hmm.
and I can go out on my own. So that's when I started Pursuit Digital. And it was actually 3 years to the day, pretty much.
Today?
It's like around today. Like today was like my last day at Revolve 3 years ago.
That's exciting.
It was right before Christmas was my last day. And yeah, so I got a client, gave my 2 weeks notice, and here we are.
3 years later. So that's a lot. I mean, I think, the key themes out of everything you've just said is like, you weren't happy in accounting, and rather than dealing with that and just sticking it out like so many people do, I can't tell you how many times people say, yeah, I realized I didn't want to do it anymore, but I had already gotten a degree in it, so I just had to deal with it. And it's like, what are you talking about? That is crazy.
I know.
That is no way to live your life. So I love that you were able to kind of have the balls to like just say, fuck it, I'm going to try something different. And then the fact that you were working 2 jobs, busting your ass, just trying to get into the fashion world is something that I think a lot of people aren't willing to do or don't realize, like, no, guys, you can't just waltz into a new industry. That isn't to say you can't get into one, but you've got to put in the work. You've got to put in the time. And it is not an overnight situation.
100%.
And it sounds, okay.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think people always ask me, what are your tips for transitioning from a business, finance, accounting job into, marketing or content creation or social media and influencer space? And I go, find that thing for you that connects them. For me, it was the math part, right? Like the analytical side of why I actually liked accounting transferred to my buying job in the fashion space. So if you are working in accounting, but you love photography and you're doing photography on the side, maybe you go to a company that has a photography department, but also has an accounting department or finance department, because every company does. So get in the door as your current job, right? As an accountant or finance person, and then just BFF with the photo guys and like learn everything that you can from them. And then, prove to the company that you're a valuable asset no matter which department you're in, and say like, hey, head of HR, if there's a position open in the photo department, like I'd love to move down there one day. There's so many ways where you can get into different industries and not have to, start over in the sense.
That's those words, start over. I'm so afraid of starting over. I hear that all day, every day. And I think, something that people need to remember is you do need to be realistic. If you have gone into a very specialized, industry or role or whatever, yeah, there's probably going to be a couple more steps for you in the transition part. But to your point, the thing that people often overlook is doing what they're good at in a new space that they're interested in. I always tell people, like, that's why it's so important to identify your strengths and like your natural talents and the things that you're good at. And then you get to look at your interests and your passions and say, how can I apply what I'm already good at to this space? Because to your point, every company has an accounting finance department, no matter the industry. So go do what you're good at in the place where you're excited about, and then weasel your way into a new department. But it's almost impossible, I would argue, to come in from the outside for a role that you have no experience in. You have nothing to show for it. Like you don't even have a portfolio, or you have nothing because you've been doing this other thing. Do it wisely, do it strategically, because it is totally possible.
I agree. You just put it in such concise words.
I mean, it comes up in every interview I do with people that have successfully transitioned to a different industry. There is no magic. There is no secret. It's you get in where you can, you prove the shit out of yourself, you work hard, and then you don't disappoint people when they give you an opportunity to try something new. It sounds like the HR person that hired you originally, kind of like she was the one that was like, yeah, come on in. Like, you might not like it here, but like, I'm willing to open the door for you. And then you got in there and never disappointed.
I'd like to think so, Baily. I'd like to think so.
I agree. I think you definitely didn't disappoint. So that's amazing. So now here we are, 3 years from Pursuit Digital. You've done a rebrand this year from Pursuit of Shoes to Everyday Pursuits. Why that? And like, what was that process like? I was there, you guys, on the inside, because Ashley and I are part of an accountability goal group together, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But for the people listening who maybe just like watched it from afar, why change it? And what does that mean for like the trajectory of your future doing this?
This is a great question.
Well, thank you.
I decided to rebrand Pursuit of Shoes because I felt Pursuit of Shoes was really pigeonholing me. I mean, within the fashion space, but even potentially like in the shoe space. And I had been Pursuit of Shoes for 5 years, 6 years. And I started it when I was 22, 23. You know, my interests have changed. I'm 31 right now.
I'm 2 years older. You can feel super youthful around me.
I started it when I had totally different interests. My like things in my life were totally just fun and frivolous, and you could just talk about fashion all the time. And it was just time to kind of make it more of a grown-up site. I wanted to make sure that there's still the fashion element. Like, fashion is definitely the one thing that we talk about the most. But there's ways for me to bring in entrepreneurship. Like Baily mentioned, we have an accountability goal group with a handful of small business owners who are all just, you know, trying to kill it in the world.
Trying to make it.
You know, so how I can talk to people about entrepreneurship and boss babes and running their own businesses, as well as, you know, relationships. I'm recently engaged and everyone wants to know all the deeds of all my you know, relationships.
Such is the life of being an influencer.
So being able to bring in that and have more honest conversations that are real. You know, to be honest, my best post this year was a post I did about not having baby fever. And that is, you know, if you looked at my site, there's like maybe 3 or 4 posts like that since we relaunched. Everything else is really fashion focused, really fun. But, you know, I was in a moment of just like, no, I don't have baby fever. Yeah, I'm in my early 30s and people are starting to have babies, but I am living and I'm doing all the things I want to do. I'm being selfish right now and I'm fine with it. And I just felt this need to put it all, you know, on digital paper, and it has been the most well-received post that I've ever written. So, you know, for me, my goal with Everyday Pursuits moving forward is more content like that. I mean, that stuff comes so organically and cannot be, you know, manufactured, so it doesn't come as often. But having more conversations like that, you know, still expanding on fashion, and I'm traveling a bunch and I love traveling. So bringing more of that into what I'm doing. You know, like big goals, like 3 years down the line, it's just so hard. I don't know. I want to do all the things. You know, I see a potential. If you follow me, you know that I love swimwear. I'm a Cali girl, born and raised. I'm a beach babe. So swim is something I'm very passionate about, even more than shoes these days. And
because it's okay, guys. If your passions change, it's allowed.
It is allowed.
It doesn't diminish how you felt about those passions when you had them. It just means you're checking off boxes and moving forward. So,
100%. Yeah. So I see potentially some type of swim collaboration, an Everyday Pursuit swim collaboration in the future. And I don't know, we'll see how everything evolves. I've been thinking about bringing on some additional writers to give different perspectives and point of view points of view. Sorry, I cannot talk.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's been good. That's why I just had to do it, because I'm kind of becoming a grown up, even though I hate that word because
Listen,
adult.
we'll redefine what grown up means. It
True.
doesn't have to suck. I mean, we don't look anything like, not physically, but our lives don't look anything like our parents' lives did at our age, right? And
True.
I have to imagine the people 10 years, 20 years behind us are going to have a very different life than we have. So I think it's exciting growing up because it means, A, ideally you have more money, which is always nice.
Yep.
And B, you just know more. And so you're able to make more, like, better decisions for yourself. And I think what happened to me at 30, and I think this is pretty universal for most people, is I started taking a lot better care of myself, like mentally, emotionally, physically, because you realize, like, oh, at the end of the day, I'm competing against myself, not everybody in the world. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. I mean, I'm sure you hit burnout points many times in your 20s, as I definitely did. And you get to a point where you're like, oh, I'm just running this race against myself. So I'm going to slow down a little bit, you know?
100%. I agree. 100%. And 30 for me has been the best. I think it's, my mom told me this when I was in my late 20s. Like she said, even though, like you said, she had me when she was 26. So she was a mom to a young tot, but she said my 30s were my best years. And I thought she was just saying that because I was feeling bad about turning 30. And now that I'm almost 32, I'm like, they are the best. Like
Yeah.
you kind of just have a lot more self-awareness,
You
and
stop giving as
you
many
give
fucks.
zero. Are we allowed to say that?
This is my damn show. You can say fuck all you want.
Yeah, you give zero fucks, which is great. Like, as soon as you can stop giving all the fucks about
Let's just lean into it.
people,
Let's say fuck
people
every
you,
other word.
people you don't need in your life, things you don't have to go to because you just don't want to go to them. It like opens a whole new world of, what am I doing every day that makes me happy? Like,
Yeah.
why am I doing things that don't bring joy?
I feel obligatory. Like, my FOMO levels have gone so low. Like, I used to miss everything. Like, oh God, I'm not there. I'm not going to be. Now I'm like, do I have to go? Is this
Yep.
going to, not will I be upset for missing out? Will I upset somebody if I don't go? If
Right.
yes, then I will go. Because your relationships do matter. You can't say fuck it and throw everything out the window and be completely selfish. But there's a difference between being selfish and protective of yourself and your time and your limited amount of extroversion. I think everybody's
Mhm.
got a limit and some people's are higher than others. But yeah, my 30s have been a really relaxing, nice time. Big fan. Big fan.
Yeah. So everyone who's listening, if you're not 30 yet, just wait. It only gets better.
The party's killing it in this 30 plus room. Let me tell you, we will happily open the door for everybody. Welcome. So that's awesome. So we've got Pursuit Digital. Let's talk about that a little bit, because people see Everyday Pursuits, formerly Pursuit of Shoes, but what they don't see is that's not your only thing. You are still doing this digital marketing whole world behind the scenes for other companies. So tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I decided to kind of start a small consultancy when I left Revolve, because I just wanted security. I wanted to know that, God forbid, this influencer world is kind of the wild, wild west. If something happens, what do I do?
Where does that leave you?
So I wanted to keep some skin in the digital marketing game. So since then, I've brought on 5 or 6 clients, and it's great. I do social media consulting. We do execution. We're doing content creation. We're doing community management. We're running emails. We're doing digital strategy, branding, the whole gamut. It's a small team, myself and a coordinator, and it's a lot. That's a full-time job. So I pretty much have 2 full-time jobs, which,
Yeah.
I said it on Instagram stories this morning, because I was like, you know what? The only time I ever wish I had a 9 to 5 was around the holiday season,
Same.
when people have paid vacation. Because as an entrepreneur and someone who runs their own business, you really can't take time off. The money stops rolling in when you stop working. But I did say, you know what? I would rather work 24 hours a day for myself than a 9 to 5 for someone else. And
FYI, that is not the case for most people. So if there's any part of you that's like, I just feel like the entrepreneur life is so much better and easier, and hell to the no, it is not easier. It might be better, but that's personal preference. It comes down to defining what happiness actually means for you and going from there, not what you think would be easier. A lot of times people think, my problem is I just need to work for myself. Chances are that is not your problem. Chances are there's something you can fix at your day job that's actually the problem. Usually working for yourself just causes a whole bunch of additional problems. I can tell you that firsthand.
Yeah. Was it you that sent me a quote? There's some stat that says people who go off and work by themselves, only 20% of them will still be working for themselves by year 2. The rest will have gotten back into like a 9 to 5 job.
It sounds right though, because there have been many times I've been an entrepreneur officially for slightly over a year. And there have been tons of times where I was like, should I just go get a day job? That would be easier. I would just come home from work and be done instead of, working literally from start to finish every single day. But at the end of the day, you have to want it bad enough. And I think that literally goes for anything, especially in your career. If you want something bad enough, there's very little that can stop you from getting it. But you really have to put in the effort and the work. And, I want to start talking about our goal group because this is a question I'm sure you get asked about a lot. I get asked about it all the time. When people find out that I'm in an accountability group. We call ourselves the Boss Babes because why not? We named it ourselves. And, I'll kind of give you the background on how this started. I'm not entirely sure how it officially formed, but Ashley and I have known each other for years since I first moved to LA. And then I met 2 of our other group members, Jen and Susie, at the Unique Camp, like almost 3 years ago. And then the final member, Emily McDonald, who's the Stylist LA founder, she and Ashley went to college and have been friends for a long time. So we were all kind of swirling, all doing our own entrepreneurial pursuits. And we all talked about this, about like, yeah, we just kind of need somebody to hold us accountable. We need a group that we can check in with. So right around the beginning of 2017, we sort of formalized this like weekly email where initially it was very simple. It was like, send out your weekly goals. And then the next week you'd recap how you did according to those goals. And then you'd kind of put out your goals for the next week. And so we started this. And I will tell you, you guys, this has been by far and away the biggest game changer of my professional life. Having 4 other people to hold you accountable. Not only is it an accountability group, like, yes, they're there to be like, if you get off course, be like, hey, where are you with this? Like, do you still want to do that? Is that still important? But it's so much more than that. It's like, it's a support group. We have a text thread that gets crazy, you guys. I will like walk away from my phone for 10 minutes and come back to 75 text messages. That is
True
real
story.
But it's also, better than therapy. Like it's, if one of us is having an issue with a social media account or a client or something comes up, anything, we know that we've got 4 other people we can run it by that are going to be honest, but also the most supportive hype girls you will ever want in your life. I can't tell you the amount of praise hand emojis that are used.
Every other one is like, yes,
praise hands. So supportive, but and we've formalized it a lot in the last year. We now have done 2 Boss Babes getaways where we've like slumber partied it up in a local hotel in LA, where we really spend time reflecting on what we've done so far and then where we want to go. And I highly, highly, highly recommend to everybody to find yourself a group of like 3 to 4 to 5 max people that you don't even have to be in the same industries. None of us are actually. We all like, we've got me who's in, 20 different industries. We've got Ashley who's digital and also fashion. And now with Everyday Pursuits, a lot of different things. Emily runs Stylist LA. Susie runs Flybrow, mobile brow grooming business, and a makeup business, Susie Moldavon. And then Jen runs Life in General, a professional organizing service. So we all have different scopes, but when you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't really matter most of the time. You kind of all hit the same roadblocks, and it's unlikely that you're all hitting the same roadblocks at the same time. So we've got each other to kind of pull us through those tough moments and really just be supportive as hell. And the feedback is unreal. So you should do it.
I support this 100% because I'm in it. But yeah, I agree. To echo Baily's sentiment, it has helped me so much in keeping myself accountable. Even not just accountable, but making sure that I'm thinking ahead and putting down my thoughts and goals for, the week, not just the week, but the quarter, the year. Sometimes you're so busy, you can't just sit down and say, hey, where do I see myself in X weeks from now and X months from now? And it helps to have, the girls say, you guys, let's just put our 30, 60, 90 and put it out there, and we're also a big proponent of manifestation. So, we're always manifesting for each other and, putting out our big goals. And I would say it's been really great, and we've done a lot this year. And I think a big thing that we keep talking about is we planted the seeds this year. We've done a lot of work between the 5 of us for our businesses that we feel 2018 is going to be absolutely killer. And that is so exciting. And it's exciting to have that, group of girls behind you, to rally behind you. And, one thing I would say when, Baily, you said, hey, get 4 to 5 people. It's important to understand, like, this is a business group. We have all become friends, but this is a business group. It's not like, hey, my BFFs and I like send emails every once in a while.
I almost think doing it with super close friends probably won't be as effective because you're too in deep with each other.
That's what I was going to say. If you can find people who are like-minded, savvy business people, that's better than the girl that you've been best friends with since you were 15.
Yeah, it's just a different perspective on you and your business. And it just helps to have people in the group too that bring something unique to the table. Like, we all are good at different things and we all have different mindsets about the same problems. So when somebody's dealing with an issue and they bring it to the text thread, they're going to get probably 4 different perspectives on how to handle it. And we all take turns having good days and bad days. Let me tell you, it's rare that we all have bad days at the same time. But it's so helpful to have that group of people that, like they're going to shoot you straight and they're going to give you real feedback. So your friends aren't always good at that. And yeah, to Ashley's point, like, we've all become very good friends, but that was after the fact, And so my bit of advice for finding good accountability goal group people is find people that are willing to show up and do the work, because it only really works if you all are coming to the table every week and doing your goals, or however often you decide to do it. For us, weeks go by so fast and so much changes week to week when you're an entrepreneur that, you're like, oh my God, it's only been a week. How's it only been a week? Like, I thought Ashley's rebrand to Everyday Pursuits was at least 2 years ago at this point.
It was March.
It was March. So not so much 2 years ago. But yeah, and you don't have to be an entrepreneur to have a goal group. I think literally everybody, even stay-at-home moms, like, it does not matter if you're a student, if you are, in corporate America, you're an entrepreneur. Every single person can benefit from having a couple people to hold them accountable for the things that they say they want to get done. Because we all make our New Year's resolutions. And if we're the only ones that ever see those, they're going to go in a drawer. You're going to forget about them until the next New Year's when you're like, oh shit. Oh yeah, I was supposed to lose 10 pounds this year. Interesting. Whoops. Next year, I'll just put it on my list again, which is what I do every year.
I always say I'm going to take a dance class. I've said that for 3 years.
Ooh, I will do that one with you.
Can we do it? Because I used to, yes.
Okay, I was on a hip hop dance team. Oh man.
I danced all through high school and college, and then I don't know what happened.
And it's the best workout, and it's so fun. Okay, let's find one. We'll actually make that happen.
Okay.
You guys will follow up.
We're accountable.
We are now accountable for the dance group. Well, and that's something that's changed too throughout this first year of this group is the format of the emails have constantly adjusted depending on like what we need. Something I started adding into my own were like personal goals too, because personal and professional, they're the same. Let's be real. Like work-life balance is sort of this bullshit myth. It's all the same. It's one big mush pot and it's just you and your life. And so I would put on there, like, if I signed up for an online course, which I am notorious for signing up for online courses and then never taking them.
How's that Google Analytics course?
All right. I did module 1. Okay. I got busy. Did you notice it left my weekly goal?
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. Like, just because you have people holding you accountable doesn't mean you won't still get shady and be like, if I just remove that from this week's goals, they won't remember that I said it last week. No, they remember. We also created a spreadsheet within the last quarter, which we're still working out the kinks on, but my brain works really well in spreadsheet format. But the emails, like when we had our most recent getaway in October, was that October or November? Whatever, who knows? 2 years.
We say it was November because
I think it was.
Seems like yesterday.
It does. But we were all able to pull up that very first group email that we sent out and be like, what did we say we wanted to accomplish in 2017 and how far off were we? And what will either happen is we'll realize like, oh my God, I hit that goal in like March. Holy shit. I did that. I already forgot that was a goal of mine. Or we're like, oh my God, I can't believe that was a goal. I totally switched gears and like, I'm not focusing on that at all anymore, which is perfectly fine. Like, you're allowed to change your mind. That's part of being a human.
Right.
So having that written down and in like digital format is so, so, so valuable.
It's the best. You guys, everybody should do it.
Everybody should do it. We keep talking about doing a webinar or some kind of something on helping people set up goal groups, but just do it. Figure it out along the way. We did it. You can do it. It's all good. We're starting to do, I think we're going to start to do, we'll see if it actually happens, a monthly call on like the first Monday of every month so that we can kind of lay the groundwork out for that month's goals. But man, you guys, time flies. Time flies. Before you know it, you're like, that can't have been a month ago. No way. Yeah. Well, so what's next for you, Ash? Do you know, besides marriage and not having babies for the time being?
Yeah, I'm getting married in March. What else is next?
I mean, I feel like you're growing your empire. You're in like growth mode.
You know what's next for Everyday Pursuits? Video content. I'm working on that right now. I just really need to bite the bullet and do it. Because I feel like that's the new wave.
So I hear.
And I know. And yeah, that's it. I mean, in a good way. Like I feel like we're in a good kind of like chug motion that is giving a lot of results at the moment. So I'm just trying to keep that momentum going without burning out myself and the team. And if we can do that, like, can only go up from here.
Yeah. Well, and that's something I think important to note too, is people often get asked like, well, what do you want to be doing in 3 to 5 years? And sometimes the answer is, well, hopefully this, but like more of this, or more money doing this, or, you know, every year doesn't have to be starting over, and it shouldn't be. You should have less starting over years than maintenance years, as far as I'm concerned. Otherwise you're going to drive yourself absolutely crazy. And this is coming from somebody that's had like 25 starting over years in my 33 years. I think all of which.
Since I've known you, I think you've had at least like 6 starting over years. And I think I've known you
like
for 7 years.
Yeah, I'm like a cat. I have like 9 lives, except they're 9 career lives. And I think I'm on like 18. So yeah, I'm kind of in the same place. I'm like, I just want to keep rolling with what I've got going on because this feels really good. And it feels not comfortable, but exciting and not unstable. And there's a lot of instability that comes when you're not ready for it. So when you've got stability and you actually like your situation, it's a really good feeling. And I always tell people too, like when you're really happy in your job, pay close attention to why you are happy. Like, what is it about your day to day that makes it feel good getting up and going to work on Monday, or in our case, Saturday and Sunday and all of the days. But yeah, so I'm really excited for everything you're doing and everything that's coming up. And I'm thankful for you and the rest of our boss babes and our goal group. Feel free, you guys, reach out with any specific questions about the accountability goal group. Happy to share, because it is a game changer. Life moves so fast. And if you're the only one focusing on your goals, it gets really hard to keep them front of mind. So enlist support of your people. Yeah.
Great advice, Baily.
Hey, thanks. You had great advice too, Ash. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.